The brother-in-law gave my disabled little sister a brutal reality check, which caused her to have a breakdown. My parents have 3 kids, Maya, me, and Sally. The problem is Sally. When she was born, she had some form of medical condition which led doctors to believe that she wouldn't survive at all, but my parents never gave up. They spent all their money and time for her treatment, and a miracle happened. She survived, but now has brain deformities which impede her ability to socialize, and she is completely unaware of anything, but she is alive. Since then, they have coddled Sally to death. Sally always had to have the best things, and I had all the hand-me-downs, which I didn't mind. But it sucks that I was the forever neglected middle child, but my sister Maya took most of it. Maya was the oldest and a scapegoat. For some weird reasons, Sally was always in competition with Maya, and I'm sure my parents also pitted them against each other too. Maya was always supposed to behave and never complain, while Sally was a brat. If Maya had a dollhouse, Sally had a bigger dollhouse. If Maya did something good, my parents would just say good job and go on about their life. But if Sally even won a participation trophy, they would basically throw a party. Since then, Maya has been walking on eggshells around my parents. She would always be grounded, and we cannot even complain that Sally has been bullying us because she is a special child. Sally was also awful towards me. She would often abuse me and even steal my stuff, and my parents won't do anything. And like I mentioned, Sally was always in competition with Maya. If Maya wanted to participate in music, she would too. I remember Maya saying in high school that she has a crush. What does Sally do? Make out with that crush in front of Maya. My parents didn't even save enough for college for either of us, but luckily for Maya, she got on a scholarship. I had to take out a loan. The last straw for Maya was when she was dating this guy in college. She brought him home when they were on vacation. She caught Sally and him doing the deed in the basement. It was a shitstorm. My parents did berate Sally, but after a few days they were like, what happened? Just happened. It will be wrong to separate these lovebirds. That was it for Maya. She screamed at them that she has endured their abuse for all these years, but not anymore. She cut off contact. There was a lot of tension. Some of my uncles and aunt were divided. Sally was just as shameless as she was and went on to date Maya's ex. Maya eventually got over it and met a nice guy and got married. She did invite our parents, but not Sally. My parents didn't go, but I did. Now, she is currently pregnant with her first child. My parents reached out to her, and although Maya was skeptical, she agreed to reconcile. So our family has this big dinner once a year at their place where all the relatives and cousins are invited. Maya came along with her husband, Adam. Sally was also there with her husband, Maya's ex. Throughout the evening, I noticed Sally tried to be closer to Adam, but he would just shove her off. When it was time for dinner, my parents made a toast. Then Sally stood up and said that she was so lucky to be here and that she almost died when she was young, something she has said over and over for pity. She then redirected to Maya and said, "Sis, I know it must be hard for you because your ex is now my husband, but thanks for the blessing. I know it must be hard for you to be here knowing how hard it was for you to compete with me, but I applaud your bravery." This was the moment Adam stood up and shouted at Sally, saying how dare she insult his wife. Who does she think she is? Then the word vomit started. I am just paraphrasing it. You think you are so special because you were a miracle baby. Guess what? I was a miracle baby too, but I don't scream about it like you do. You are such a pathetic woman that the only achievement in your life you have is something that was accidental. What else do you have to show for? Everything you have was basically borrowed from my wife. Even your pathetic husband who spent the entire evening hitting on every female cousin in this room. You are so annoying, even your husband doesn't like you. You know what the truth is. You have nothing in your nothing. You are so shameless and pathetic that you tried to hit on me. You already got her ex, and now you want her husband. I would rather die than be with a woman like you whose personality is worth the paper bag. You have always been jealous of my wife because you always knew you would never be as amazing as she is. That's why you stole from her, because that's the only way you could have what she has. Sally was in tears. Next story, story number 2. My boyfriend kidnapped me as a prank for his proposal, but I was touched inappropriately by his friends inside the car. I'm trembling and just created this all account because my main has a lot of details about me that would make it easy to trace back. A week ago, my boyfriend told me he had a camping trip planned with his friends on Friday today. He said he would have no service and he'll see me on Sunday. He messaged me at 5 a.m. this morning and told me they are hitting the road. Around 8, I went for a run, like I usually do on Fridays. I have one headphone And while I do because I was on a work call while I was running, I noticed a SUV that kept popping up. In hindsight, it looked just like my boyfriend's childhood friend's car. I sent a message to my sister saying to stand by and shared my location. Right after sending the message, I looked up and the SUV was right beside me and someone jumped out and grabbed me. It happened so fast, I even dropped my phone on the pavement. I was pulled into this car and I could tell there were at least 2 masked guys in the back before they covered my eyes. In hindsight, they had cartoonish ski masks and black gloves on. I freaked out and resisted like crazy, screaming and kicking. All I could hear was these guys laughing, and I could feel one of them holding me down by my arms behind me, and the other was holding my legs down at the knees. I don't know how long I was in there, but I kept begging them to let me go and crying. I even admit I peed on myself, but I don't think they noticed until we arrived at the house. They pulled me out of the car and I was screaming for help until I was pulled into a house. When the mask on my head was removed, I was on my knees in front of my boyfriend of 2 years. He was staring at me with a confused look before he started to angrily ask his friends what was going on. As I started to adjust to what was going on, I realized he was dressed nice, and there were romantic decorations around the entryway to his house. I realized who he was and what was going on and collapsed into sobs. I probably had a 5-minute panic attack in that car, on my way there, and another one sitting in the entryway to his house. I was sweaty, wearing soled yoga pants, flushed with fear, scared for my life. That was all about an hour or 2 ago. My boyfriend took me upstairs and was going to help me get showered and changed, but I wanted to do that alone. I heard yelling and commotion downstairs while I showered, but I don't know what is going on. I'm sitting in his room now holding my shattered phone after crying to my sister about what happened. She lives 1.5 hours away, but is speeding over to get me now. I can't stop thinking about what happened, and even though I know now I was never in any danger, I don't think my brain can comprehend it. They were snickering and teasing me in deep voices about what they were going to do to me. The one that was holding my legs down kept caressing my thighs up and down into the inner area. When the car would break, his face kept falling into my chest. I don't even know who that was. I just know one of them sounded unsure and kept trying to defuse the situation, but I think it was the driver. Edit. My sister arrived. She wants to take me to the police station now. I haven't spoken to my boyfriend yet, but I think there's more to this story than he knew about. I'll have to log off for a while. I'm working with the police now. This is going to be investigated as a false imprisonment if I press charges. My sense of time was so warped. From where I was picked up to his house was about 7 or 10 minutes in the car. It felt like way longer than that. As for the friends, the driver was his childhood best friend who I actually get along with well. He was in tears when he voluntarily arrived at the police station for a statement. The other 2 were friends from his athletics class that he started attending a few months ago. It seems like the 2 guys I didn't know wanted in of what otherwise was supposed to be something more innocent. The original plan was for them to pop out of this car in their funny kidnapping attire and hand me a letter that explained I was being summoned by boyfriend and resistance is futile. Seems like the plan changed as the 2 new friends wanted to shake me up a bit more and make it feel more real. Edit. I've had time to calm down in long talks with my sister. We are going to meet up with my ex-boyfriend for dinner tonight. He has been respectful of my request for space, but has been emotional whenever he thinks about what I went through this morning. His best friend contacted me repeatedly apologizing for allowing it to get that far, but I asked for him to stop and he did. The best friend's fiance reached out and has been supportive and apologetic too. Update. Hello, I have a lot I wish I could tell you all, but unfortunately, due to legal consultation, it's best I keep a lot of it private. In short, I'm healing. My now fiancé had a private proposal with me last week. We had many tough conversations and his responses to everything reminded me how safe and loved I am by him. He didn't ask for or endorse that type of plan. I've learned that the 2 friends who I didn't know were highly influenced by YouTube pranksters and social experiment channels. Also, one of them let us know he is on the spectrum and apologized for his part. I think that's all I can share for now. I am only consulting right now and may not press charges. Edit. There are a lot of people who disagree with me staying with my fiancé. I'm sorry I couldn't explain in detail how confident I am in him throughout this. Please read carefully before passing judgments, and I'm sorry I couldn't please everyone with my decisions. But after further response, I think pressing charges is the best course of action. Maybe I'm a bit too tender-hearted, but I didn't want the former best friend to get some flake too. But it seems he has too. Next story. Story number 3. I don't care how many times my brother tries to unalive himself. I do not want to be his friend. I haven't spoken or seen my brother Kevin in 5 years. When I was 22 and Kevin was 25, I found out that my girlfriend of 3 years was having an affair with Kevin. I broke up with her and moved back into my parents' place, showing my parents the proof of the affair. After a month of ignoring Kevin's attempt to reach out and being cold when he would come around to apologize, my parents told me it was time to forgive him. They even went as far to stage an intervention with my ex, Kevin, and extended family to give me reasons why I should forgive them, especially Kevin. All this did was hurt me more. I told him what they did was unforgivable, especially when it came to Kevin because he was my brother. I looked up to him. I would have done anything for him. We were really close, and he betrayed me in the worst way. A couple of months after that, I got the chance to get far away from them and took it. I went no contact with Kevin and my parents. For the last couple of months, I've been in contact with a cousin because my grandmother has been having health issues, and it got worse, so I went back to visit her in the hospital. On the way out, I unfortunately ran into Kevin. He wanted to talk, but I pretended I didn't know him, and he started to cry saying he was sorry and he wanted to have a relationship. I told him he must have me mistaken for someone else and left. My cousin then called me later saying Kevin has a really bad mental breakdown about what happened. Apparently, ever since I cut contact with him, his mental health has declined a lot. Then my parents called me and begged me to see Kevin, that being there for him would give him a peace of mind. They pressured my cousin into giving them my number. I told them I wasn't gonna do that. Mom started crying, saying she wanted her family back, that she wanted her sons being close again. I told her that Kevin, her and Dad ruined that I didn't care about them anymore. My dad then asked if we all sat down, talked, and apologized for all the hurt we caused each other, that things could be the way they were before. I said I didn't want to talk and I have nothing to apologize for. The next day, my dad called and I could tell he was crying. He said Kevin tried swallowing a bunch of pills. Apparently, they told Kevin what I said and it pushed him over the edge. My parents found him in time and now he's in the hospital. They think I can make his mental health better if I just have a relationship with him again. But I don't want one. I don't feel it's fair to put his mental health on me. I don't even know how I would even help him, when every time I think of him, all I feel is rage, hurt, and betrayal. He's my brother, but I just don't want anything to do with him.